It happens so fast, you don't even have time to brace for it. One moment you're holding a glass of flat champagne and trying to smile through another overlong toast about your sister's unbelievable strength and grace. And the next, there's a sharp hiss, a burning splash across your face, and the room freezes. You blink. The coffee is hot scalding really, and you're too stunned to react. It's dripping down your chin, soaking into your shirt, and for a second, all you can smell is bitterness. Coffee and something scorched. Your cheek starts to sting. Your mother is still standing in front of you, her arm outstretched, the empty cup trembling slightly in her fingers, like even she can't believe what she just did. Everyone stares, but no one moves. Your sister in her glittering gown has her mouth open like a silent movie actress mid-gasp. Your uncle turns his head pretending to check something on his phone. Your father. God! Your father just sits there. He doesn't blink, doesn't twitch. He looks like he's waiting for the scene to end, so the next one can start, like this is some grotesque family play you've all memorized. You don't cry. You don't shout. You simply walk past your mother, whose face has already hardened into victimhood, and head for the bathroom. You catch a glimpse of yourself in a mirror along the way, and for a moment, you look almost dignified. Wet, steaming, but dignified. Like someone returning from battle, not someone humiliated at a party meant to celebrate someone else. Behind you, there are no footsteps, no apologies, just a brittle silence that hums with judgment, as if you were the one who ruined the party. Inside the guest bathroom, you peel off your jacket and dab at your skin with paper towels. It hurts, yes, but not as much as the memory forming in real time that not one person stood between you and the attack. Not one person said, "Stop." Not one person checked on you. Not even your sister, the one they always said needed more from everyone because she was delicate. You splash cold water on your face and whisper something to yourself. Not quite a prayer, not quite a curse. Just a quiet vow, never again. You'd refused the $40,000. That's all it took. A calm no. No yelling, no fight, no spectacle. Just you saying I can't do that right now when your mother pulled you aside between toasts and begged no, demanded you hand over the money for your sister's honeymoon. She said it like it was obvious. Like the only reason you'd been saving money was to make her look good.
You make more than she does, she hissed. She deserves this.
When you said no, her face twisted. She grabbed the nearest cup hers and let it fly. And even now, blotting your skin in a room full of seashell soap and stale air freshener, you're still not sure if she was more angry about the rejection or the fact that you had the nerve to say no in front of her friends. You imagine walking back out, standing in the middle of the room with your red cheek and your soaked collar and saying, "Look at her. This is what she does. This is who you celebrate." But you don't, because that would give her more airtime. Instead, you smooth your shirt, dry your face, and open the door. You don't look anyone in the eye. You just walk out the front entrance, past the valet, past the flower arrangements, past the framed collage of your sister's childhood photos that never once included you. And you keep walking. Your phone vibrates as you reach your car. A text from your cousin. "You okay?" You turn it face down and toss it on the seat. As you drive away, you don't cry. You don't scream. But your grip on the steering wheel tightens with every turn, and deep inside your chest, something starts to shift. Something molten, not angry, yet but waking. This isn't the first time you've been made small. It's just the first time they made it public. And you know with a strange and dangerous calm that it'll be the last. You've always known your family played favorites. That wasn't news. You just didn't expect it to hurt this much this late in the game. Even as a kid, you knew the air bent differently around your sister. When she cried, everyone scrambled. When you cried, it was "stop being dramatic." When she messed up, it was "she's under a lot of pressure." When you got a B instead of an A, it was "we expected more from you." You were the reliable one, the sturdy one, the one who didn't need anyone. That became your role early on, so early in fact, you can't pinpoint when it started. Only that it stuck like a name you didn't choose. You learned not to ask for seconds, not to pout, not to fight back. You learned that your worth was measured by how quietly you carried weight. You also learned slowly, bitterly, that silence was mistaken for agreement, that patience was mistaken for passivity, that generosity was mistaken for duty. And over the years, your mother learned something too, that you wouldn't say no, until now. The truth is that no wasn't just about the $40,000. It was about every time she called you selfish for not buying your sister a graduation gift the size of a small car. About every time she asked you to cancel plans so you could watch her dog while she flew to Bali with her favorite child. About every time she said, "Well, your sister's going through a lot," as if your own life was weightless. It had never mattered that you paid your way through college while your sister had a family-funded gap year. It had never mattered that you helped your mom with bills when her business folded while your sister moved back in, rent-free for 3 years, and never once did a chore. It had never mattered that you tried endlessly to be useful. What mattered was that you were easy to overlook.
You were only good so long as you stayed convenient.
And in the moment that cup hit your face, something shattered, not just in your skin, but in your place in the family. You weren't the helper anymore. You were the problem, the ungrateful one, the one who ruined the mood by refusing to cough up her savings on cue. It didn't help that you'd done well lately. Your freelance work turned into something real, steady, profitable even. You weren't flashy about it, but your mom noticed. And she'd decided your success was a community resource, one she could redirect at will. So, when you said no, it wasn't just a financial rejection. It was a betrayal of the role you'd been cast in. The one who gives, the one who shrinks, the one who sacrifices because she's stronger. You think about all the times you accepted their version of events, all the dinners where you paid and they forgot to say thank you, all the vacations you were left out of because you wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway, all the family photos where you were conveniently taking the picture, and it hits you now in the quiet of your apartment face, still red and sore, that this was never about you being appreciated. It was about you being available. There's something sickeningly calm about realizing you were never loved for who you were, just for what you gave. But here's the twist that makes you smirk a little. Even now, the second you stopped giving, the second you disrupted their script, they didn't know what to do with you. You weren't supposed to push back. You weren't supposed to leave. You weren't supposed to disappear without a dramatic send-off. But that's what you did, slid out of the party, like a breath they didn't notice had been holding them together. And they hate the silence. You know they do. Because in silence they have to sit with themselves. No one to blame, no one to unload on, no one to clean up the mess. Your sister didn't call. Your father didn't text. Your mother posted a photo the next day, her and your sister clinking glasses captioned, "A perfect evening with my everything." You laughed when you saw it. Not because it was funny, but because it was so empty. You used to crave their approval. Now you watch it from a distance, like a play you've seen too many times to care how it ends. The next morning you turn off your phone and go for a walk. The air is cool. Your skin is healing slowly. You catch your reflection in a shop window and barely recognize yourself. Not because of the burn, because of the peace. Something inside you has started to unclench. The part of you that always braced for their next request, their next guilt trip, their next storm. You're done auditioning for a part in their story. And for the first time in years, you start wondering what it would look like to write your own. You don't even remember turning the key in the ignition. You just remember the cold leather of the steering wheel, the shaky exhale, and the way your hands wouldn't stop trembling, not from pain, but from clarity. That strange electric clarity that only shows up once you've been broken in public. There's no music on the drive home. Just your mind replaying the moment again and again, her hand, the cup, the heat, the gasps, the silence. You could have made a scene. Could have screamed. Could have flung the floral centerpiece across the room and shouted everything you'd kept sealed behind your teeth for years. Could have exposed the entire architecture of your family's dysfunction in one glorious, catastrophic monologue. But instead, you just cleaned yourself up and left. No drama, no explanation. That's what made it so powerful. You don't cry when you get home. You just lock the door behind you, place your keys down gently, and change out of your damp shirt. The red mark on your cheek is angrier now, blooming like some cruel medal of honor. You touch it gently in the mirror and murmur, "It's not that bad." And it's not. Not compared to what it symbolizes. This wasn't just coffee. It was every unpaid emotional debt, every wound dressed up as tradition, every demand that came wrapped in guilt and served as love. You sit down on the couch with a cold pack pressed to your face and stare at the ceiling. The quiet wraps around you, and for once it doesn't feel empty. It feels honest. You remember being 8 years old, standing in the corner of the living room while your sister broke your mother's favorite vase. You remember your mom storming in and seeing you first, and how you instinctively said, "It wasn't me." And she snapped, "Of course it was. She wouldn't do that." You remember that feeling. The rage, the injustice, the swallowing of truth to keep peace. It's a flavor you've lived with for decades. But now you don't feel small. You feel still. There's a moment when you're sitting there, just you, your breath and the ache in your face when you realize you don't need to explain yourself to them anymore. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Not ever again, if you don't want to. And that's when you make the decision. You're not going back. Not to family brunch. Not to group chats. Not to the brittle traditions where your presence is only welcome if it comes with a check or silence.
You send one text, one single message to the family group.
"Home safe. I won't be joining future gatherings. Please respect my boundary." You don't add a heart emoji. You don't soften it. You let it be what it is, a line in the sand. The typing bubble appears almost instantly, then disappears. Minutes later, your mother replies, "Don't be dramatic. We all had a long night. Let's move on." There it is, the reset button, the family's favorite trick. Pretend nothing happened and the person who remembers becomes the problem. You don't reply. The next morning, your sister posts a selfie on Instagram with the caption, "Surround yourself with people who lift you up." You block her, quietly. No announcement, just gone. That weekend, you buy yourself flowers. Big, over-the-top, slightly ridiculous blooms that make your apartment smell like spring. You take a picture, not to post, but just to remember this version of yourself, the one who buys flowers, who says no, who walks out when hot coffee hits her face instead of staying and apologizing for flinching. You spend the evening rearranging your bookshelf, not out of necessity, but because it feels good to put things where they belong. You find an old birthday card from your mom tucked inside a cookbook, something from years ago. You open it. Inside it says, "You've always been the strong one. We're so lucky to have you." You fold it up and throw it away. Because strength without care isn't a compliment. It's an excuse.
That night you sleep better than you have in months.
Not because everything is healed. Not because it doesn't still hurt. But because for the first time you chose yourself. No one calls. Not the next morning. Not the next week. Not even on your birthday, which passes quietly with a slice of cake from the corner bakery and a long walk where you don't check your phone once. It's like you evaporated from their world the second you stopped being useful. And in a way, you did. You stopped answering their calls. You muted the group chat. You didn't engage when your aunt tagged you in a family reunion photo with a polite "wish you were here," as if your absence was a mystery rather than a decision. They don't ask why you're silent. They don't ask if you're okay. They just keep going like nothing happened. Like hot coffee wasn't thrown. Like you weren't humiliated in front of everyone they ever called family. It's not shocking. What's shocking is how easy it is for them. You'd always known your place was conditional. You just hadn't realized how thin the thread really was until you snipped it. There's a moment where you wonder if maybe you're being too harsh. Maybe you should send a message. Start with something light. Ask about your cousin's baby, or your dad's new knee, or whatever safe topic they'll use to swerve around the truth. But then you remember the sting, the gasps, the way no one moved. And just like that, the guilt slides right off your skin. They've built a system where accountability feels like betrayal, and you're done playing along. Instead, you turn your focus inward. You find joy in the smallest things. Grocery shopping becomes a ritual. Folding laundry feels like meditation. You start baking on Sundays, not for anyone else, just because your apartment smells better when there's cinnamon in the air. The burn on your face heals, but it leaves behind a faint mark. It's not dramatic, just a shadow. But you see it. Every morning. And strangely, it brings you comfort. Not because of what it is, but because of what it means. You didn't flinch. And now something inside you is changing. Not overnight, not loudly, but slowly and with purpose. One morning, you delete the entire family group chat. Not just the notifications, everything. The history, the photos, the snide little exchanges pretending to be jokes. You delete it all. And in the silence that follows, you feel the smallest flicker of power. Like you're rewriting the rules of what matters. You'd thought being alone would feel empty. But it doesn't. It feels clean. Like a house after a storm, windows open the air, finally moving. You don't hear from your mom for 6 weeks. Then she sends a text. Are you done with your tantrum yet? You don't reply. She sends another a few days later. Your sister's very hurt. She doesn't understand why you're being so cold. Still, you don't reply. Then, finally, the one that's supposed to break you. We're family. We need to move past this. Be the bigger person. You laugh when you read it. A small, bitter laugh that feels good in your chest. Be the bigger person, they always say that. Which means be quiet, take the hit, clean up the mess. It means stay predictable, stay small. You put your phone face down and return to your book. You're reading again these days. Real books, not just articles skimmed between tasks. And this one about boundaries, healing, rebuilding feels like it was written just for you. Later that week, you get a call from your father. You let it ring out. Then, a voicemail. Your mom's been upset. You should reach out. Family's family. You almost delete it without listening, but something makes you replay it once, just to hear the tone. And, yep, there it is. Not concern, not regret, just expectation. As if you owe them your return. As if time and silence were enough of an apology for what they did. You press delete. There's no part of you that misses them. Not really. You miss the idea of family. The one you made up in your head. The warm kitchen, the shared laughter, the unconditional love. But the reality, it was always a negotiation.
You're not negotiating anymore.
And for the first time, you're not the one waiting to be chosen. You've chosen yourself. The truth about the $40,000 comes out by accident. It's a Thursday. You're on your lunch break, sipping iced tea at your favorite spot when your cousin texts you out of the blue. Not the one who fake-checked on you at the party, but her younger brother, the quiet one who never joins in the family politics. He sends a simple message. Did you really refuse to help with the Santorini villa? You stare at the screen. A beat passes. Then another. You reply, excuse me. He sends a screenshot. A group message between your mom, your sister, and a couple of extended relatives. Your name is in bold. So is the number $40,000. Apparently, they've been telling everyone you had the money sitting idle in a luxury savings account and refused to support your sister's once-in-a-lifetime honeymoon dream. A villa in Santorini with an infinity pool and private chef. A 7-night experience of healing and joy. That's what your mom called it. You blink. You reread. And then you laugh right there in public, loud and sudden enough that the woman at the next table looks over. You text back, it was never an emergency. He replies, I figured. Just wanted you to know what they're saying. You thank him. Briefly. Then stare down at your phone, thumbs hovering. A villa. 40 grand. Because your sister needed to heal. No one ever asked if you needed healing. You remember that day vividly now, how your mom pulled you aside near the champagne bar, her voice urgent but oddly cheerful. "Just think about it," she said. "You've got the money. You don't even like to travel. Why not do something meaningful for your sister?" She said meaningful like it was charity, like giving her a Mediterranean honeymoon on your dime was a spiritual calling. You'd responded with quiet confusion. Why can't she pay for it herself? Her face shifted. Instantly. From sweet to sharp. "She's had a hard year," she hissed. "You know that. You don't need all that money sitting in some boring account. This would make her feel special. Make her feel special. That was always the hidden assignment, wasn't it? Your life was supposed to orbit hers. Your success was supposed to fund her fantasies. And when you didn't comply, she punished you. With coffee. With silence. With a smear campaign in the family group chat. You sit back in your chair and stare up at the sky. It's blue, wide, mercilessly calm. Your iced tea is sweating. You're suddenly exhausted not from the drama, but from the years of pretending this was love. This was never love. This was transaction. Your mom doesn't believe in fairness. She believes in narrative. And the narrative is always this: your sister is the fragile one, the deserving one, the jewel. You are the sturdy one, the vault. The one who's supposed to give and give until the family feels complete. But here's the twist. You've quietly been putting money aside for years. Not for Santorini. Not for anyone else's dream.
For yours.
You'd planned to wait. You'd thought about investing in something small, maybe even humble. A retreat center. A bookstore. A tucked-away house in the mountains where people could breathe again. But now your plans take sharper shape. You don't owe them comfort. You don't owe them access. And you certainly don't owe them $40,000 for a trip that would have come with hashtags and zero gratitude. That night, you open your laptop. You pour yourself a glass of wine. You look at your budget, your savings, your options, and you start planning. It's not revenge. It's not even rebellion. It's reclamation. You start small, emailing a real estate agent, scheduling a tour, researching the paperwork. You don't tell anyone, not friends, not coworkers, not even the cousin who tipped you off. Because this part is just for you. Meanwhile, the silence from your family continues. But something's different now. It doesn't feel like rejection anymore. It feels like distance you earned. And as you move forward one quiet step at a time, you start to realize they never really saw you. But now, you do. You don't slam any doors. You don't post a thread. You don't make an announcement. You don't even change your phone number, though you think about it. No, your disappearance is quieter than that. Deliberate. Painless, almost. Like slipping out of an old sweater that no longer fits. You vanish with intention. No replies, no explanations, no loopholes for re-entry. The group chat remains muted. Messages pile up. Your mom sends one about your aunt's new health scare. Your sister shares an engagement photo, redo the one she actually likes this time. Your father forwards a meme about gas prices. It's all routine, all empty, like everyone's still clinging to the performance, hoping you'll fall back into character.
You don't.
Instead, you start rewriting your days, bit by bit. Without them in the periphery, you begin to move differently. Your mornings are no longer hijacked by guilt or obligation. No unexpected calls asking you to just transfer a little something to cover a spa package. No guilt-ridden pleas disguised as love. Just you, your breakfast, your pace. You find strange joy in the silence. You start eating slower, reading longer, letting yourself sit in rooms without music, just listening to the hum of appliances or the occasional flutter of a curtain. The absence of their noise becomes a kind of peace you didn't know you were starved for. It doesn't mean the old thoughts don't try to sneak back in. They do. Especially at night. Maybe I was too harsh. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I should just send one text. But then you remember none of them ever said sorry. Not once. They didn't ask how your skin was. They didn't offer to cover your dry cleaning, let alone your dignity. They just moved on like it was a spilled drink at brunch instead of a burned face at an engagement. That's what solidifies it. You don't owe them closure. You owe yourself healing. You dive into your work. You say yes to new projects, new clients. You update your portfolio. You take the long way home just because you can. And on a whim, you start therapy not because you're falling apart, but because for once you want to understand your patterns before they drag you back. Your therapist listens quietly as you talk about being the strong one, the helper, the dependable one. The sibling who didn't cry too loud, didn't take up too much space. And she says something that stays with you. You were trained to believe love is earned through usefulness. You go home and write that down. Pin it above your desk. A week later, your sister texts, "I miss you. Why are you being like this?" You don't reply. Because that's not a question, it's bait. It's a trap door shaped like affection. What she misses isn't you. It's your compliance. You know this now. They miss the version of you that never said no. And that version, she's gone. In her place is someone slower, quieter, more dangerous in her calm. Someone who knows her worth, doesn't live in sacrifice. Someone who's learning how to be soft with herself, not just sturdy for everyone else. Your mother calls twice in a row one evening. No voicemail, no text. Just those missed call notifications like little landmines on your screen.
You don't pick up.
Instead, you make tea. You water your plants. You watch the sun go down without narrating your pain to anyone. And in the dark that follows, you whisper something to yourself. This is not abandonment. This is protection. The next morning, you wake up with a kind of lightness that feels almost foreign. You don't reach for your phone. You reach for the window, open it wide, and let the air rush in like applause. You disappeared, yes, but not into nothing. You disappeared into yourself. They don't notice what you've been building. Not at first. Because it's quiet. Because you don't post about it. Because there are no flashy updates or inspirational quotes on your stories. Just long hours, steady decisions, and small wins that no one claps for, but you feel them in your bones. It starts with a single email. A potential investor, someone you met months ago at a conference you almost skipped. They remembered you. They liked your pitch. They're in. Suddenly, that idea you scribbled on a napkin, one bored Tuesday, the business idea you shelved between family obligations and self-doubt, has teeth, has shape, has funding. You name it something simple, clean, a name that doesn't scream for attention but quietly owns its space. You rent a tiny office space in a part of town no one talks about unless they're trying to be ironic. You love it instantly. You keep your head down. You work. While they post selfies from wine bars and gossip about who got Botox and who got fired, you're sourcing suppliers. You're drafting copy. You're meeting lawyers and signing papers and learning how to breathe through the fear of doing something entirely for yourself. At night, your apartment turns into your sanctuary. You light candles not for vibes but for ritual. You stretch out on your rug laptop balanced on your knees and lose hours in flow. Sometimes your mom still texts. Sometimes your sister leaves voicemails full of fake affection, all sing-song and sugar. You delete them without listening. You've already memorized the script. You're not playing the supporting role anymore. You're producing your own damn film. There's a moment 2 months in when you sit at your tiny office desk surrounded by papers and coffee cups and a whiteboard that looks like a conspiracy theory, and you realize you feel proud. Genuinely proud. Not for how much you've earned, not for what you've proved, but for how much of this was built in the dark, alone, without applause, without permission. You remember your mom once saying, "You'll never make it on your own. You're not aggressive enough. You don't have the stomach for risk." And you smile. Because she was right about one thing: you're not aggressive. You're precise. You're relentless. You're silent when it's smarter and thunder when it matters. Your client list grows. Your first month profits beat projections. You don't post a single thing about it. Because success for you now is private, sacred, no longer bait for attention or leverage in the family scoreboard. One night while finalizing a deal with a distributor, you come across your old resume. The one you used to email around when you were still trying to prove yourself in someone else's world. You almost laugh at how desperate the tone feels now, like you were begging someone to take a chance on you when the real power was always in building something no one could take away.
You pour a glass of wine and toast yourself.
Not the you they saw. The you they didn't bother looking for. The one who wasn't the fragile one. Or the easy one. Or the fixer. Just you. You keep working. Quietly. Relentlessly. The business takes shape. Becomes real. Becomes yours. And one morning, you wake up, check your account balance, and realize something beautiful. You could write a check for $40,000 today and barely flinch. But you won't. Not for them. Not anymore. It starts with an email from your mother's accountant. Not a call, not a knock at the door, not even a direct message from the woman herself. Just a clipped, formal subject line sitting in your inbox one Wednesday afternoon. Urgent family home financial situation. Potential foreclosure. You blink at it. Then you open it. Inside, a summary property, taxes, unpaid mortgage, several months behind home equity drained through a second line of credit. The house, the same one your mother always called her castle, the one you were raised in but never allowed to feel at home in, is teetering, and they're panicking. You sit back and sip your coffee, which is warm, not scalding. Smooth, not bitter. No one throws it in your face. It's funny how small things like that suddenly feel like luxuries. A few hours later, your father calls. First time in months.
You let it ring.
Then your sister. You can't help but stare at her name, glowing on the screen like a ghost. You don't answer her either. Then finally, the inevitable your mother.
This time you pick up.
There's silence at first. Then a carefully constructed voice. Hi, sweetheart.
You say nothing.
We've been trying to reach you. There's a situation. The house our home is in a bit of trouble. Temporary, of course. Just a bump. You wait. We thought maybe she says. And here it comes so gently, it's almost artistic, maybe you could help. Just to tide things over. I know things ended poorly, but we're family. There it is. The hook in honey. You ask calmly, how much do you need? She brightens instantly. It's not much around 40. 45,000, maybe 60 to be safe, depending on how. You cut her off.
You mean the same 40 grand you threw coffee at me over?
She stutters. Let's not rehash that. We all lost our temper. It was a stressful day. You laugh, not bitterly, just cleanly.
I didn't lose my temper, you say. I walked away.
Silence.
Then your sister's been worried sick.
That word again, your sister. Like she's the moral compass. The delicate orchid. The one everyone's pain must orbit. I'm not interested in guilt, you say. I'm interested in paperwork. She pauses. What? If I help you say slowly, it won't be a gift. It won't be a handout. It'll be a purchase. You'll sign the house over to me. Clean title. No negotiation. You what? You want the money, you get it. But the house becomes mine. She explodes predictably. How dare you? That's our home. Your father built that garage with his bare hands. Your sister's wedding photos are in that living room. I remember you say flatly. I also remember being told I didn't matter in that house. Repeatedly. Loudly. Publicly. Another beat of silence. Then softer.
So you're doing this for revenge?
You think for a second. Then reply. No, I'm doing it for closure. A week later, your lawyer draws up the terms. The house in full. No partial ownership. No residency rights. No conditions. You send the documents.
They sign. Of course they do.
Because they always assumed you'd come back eventually. That, under the guilt and silence and quiet success, you were still the same child trying to earn their love. They never imagined you'd come back with a contract. The day they hand over the keys, your mother doesn't speak. Your sister wears sunglasses even though it's overcast. Your father avoids your eyes completely. You walk through the house slowly. It smells like dust and old money. The air is stale with secrets. You don't gloat. You just move room to room, fingers grazing the walls you were once punished in the floor where you sat quietly. while your sister screamed her way out of consequences.
It's not victory.
It's release. This was never about real estate. It was about agency.
They thought you'd either give in or disappear.
They didn't expect you to evolve. You changed the locks the same afternoon. There's no ceremony to it. No grand announcement. Just a quiet technician with a calm voice who doesn't ask questions. He installs the new keypad system in under 20 minutes, chatting about the weather, while you stand in the doorway, arms folded, eyes scanning the street for any sign of them. They don't show up. Of course they don't. They've already retreated back into their comfort zone, self-pity and spin. The narrative has probably already shifted. You're greedy, now cold-hearted, a traitor to the family name. Let them talk. You don't change the curtains or the furniture right away. You walk through the house, slowly letting your memories knock on the walls one by one. There's the step in the hallway you always avoided because it creaked and gave you away when you snuck down for water after bedtime. There's the chipped molding in the kitchen corner where you once fell and your mom told you to stop crying or go upstairs. There's the bathroom mirror where your sister used to spend hours while you brushed your teeth over the sink, invisible even then. But now it's yours, all of it. You sleep in the master bedroom your parents once ruled like a throne. Not out of spite, but because it's the only room with a ceiling fan. The sheets smell like their perfume, but that fades in a few days. You replace them with soft linen, your favorite color. The next week, you box up everything they left behind. Photos, trophies, souvenir mugs, half-used lotion bottles, expired pantry items. You don't throw anything away, not yet. You donate most of it. The rest you set out on the curb in neatly labeled boxes. You find an old photo album, one you forgot existed. You flip through it slowly, page after page of your sister's milestones, her piano recitals, her prom, her graduation. Your own face appears exactly 4 times. You tear out one photo. It's the one where you're 7 standing behind the cake you baked yourself for your own birthday because your mom said she was too busy this year. You're smiling in the photo, too brightly, the kind of smile you wore like armor. You pin it to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a strawberry. You stare at it for a long time. Then you whisper, "You made it." The house is quieter now. No more stomping, no more shouting, no more accusations bouncing off the walls like tennis balls no one catches. You don't host parties. You don't invite anyone over. For now, it's just yours. A quiet reclamation. You start small renovations. Paint the hallway. Replace the light fixture in the dining room. Rip out the dusty curtains. You let light in. Every so often, your phone buzzes with a new number. You know who it is. You don't answer. One day your sister sends you an email, not to apologize, not to acknowledge the burn or the silence or the years, just a single line. "Hope you're happy." You read it 3 times, then you delete it.
You are.
Not happy in the way they understand it. Not champagne and Santorini happy. Not curated for social media happy. But a different kind. A rooted kind. You wake up without a pit in your stomach. You eat when you're hungry. You walk barefoot across a floor that doesn't judge you. You're not seeking approval anymore. You're not waiting to be included in a group that required your self-erasure as the price of admission. You own the house. You own the silence. You own the story. You repaint the front door last. It's the final thing that still whispers their presence. That old forest green, faded at the edges, the one your mother was so proud of, said it gave the house character. But to you, it's always been the color of rules, of walking on eggshells, of waiting at the threshold, wondering which version of your family would greet you that day. So you change it to deep, warm blue. You pick the shade carefully, one that holds calm but not indifference, one that reflects light but doesn't shout, one that feels like you, quiet strength with no more need to prove anything. And as you step back and look at it, hands still smudged with paint, you finally let yourself breathe. Not the shallow kind you used to do before family dinners. The real kind, chest expanding, spine lengthening, soul steadying. Your phone buzzes. You ignore it. There's a rhythm to your days now. Mornings with tea and music instead of panic. Afternoons with long, focused hours of work. Evenings where you light a candle for no reason but to enjoy the glow. You're building something again. Not just a business, though, that's thriving. You're building peace, and it's durable. Sometimes you pass the old family photos still tucked in the box you couldn't quite throw out. You think about the child you were. How she kept giving, kept folding herself into whatever shape was least inconvenient. How she thought if she were good enough, generous enough, small enough, they'd love her the way she needed. You don't blame her anymore. You just don't let her drive the car. One Saturday morning, you walk barefoot to the kitchen, open the window, and hear birds. It's the kind of day your mother would have spent yelling at someone to sweep the porch while she sipped coffee and told stories about how hard she had it. You pour your own coffee, not bitter, not boiling, just right. And in that moment, standing in the heart of the house that once made you feel like a stranger in your own skin, you feel something shift. Not revenge, not even satisfaction.
Peace. You never needed them to fall apart. You just needed to stop falling in line.
They still don't understand what happened. To them, it's like you changed, suddenly became selfish, cold, successful without permission. They call it betrayal, but you call it return.
To yourself, to your voice, to your life. They built a story where you were the supporting character in someone else's spotlight, and for years you played the role beautifully.
But then, you walked off stage. You rewrote the ending.
Not with vengeance.
With stillness. You leave the front door open for a while that morning. Let the light stretch across the floor. You water the plants. You answer 3 client emails. You hum a song you don't remember learning. There are no fireworks, no final confrontation, no gotcha moment. Just space, just truth, and freedom you no longer apologize for. You don't miss them, and if they miss you, that's something they'll have to sit with. Alone. Because you're home now.